Habs' number 5 overall pick, David Reinbacher, was definitely disappointing to some people, but some of the hate messages he's gotten are ridiculous. Reports say he has gotten upwards of thousands of hate messages towards him already in just the last day or two since the draft. We'll be talking about that, plus what we actually think David Reinbacher can be for the Montreal Canadiens, and some positive remarks from some ex-NHLers. We're also going to talk about how the Habs are going to be quiet in free agency this year, and a Habs prospect got invited to a summer showcase. So, without further ado, let's get right into our news. And the first thing, Jesse, we got to talk about David Reinbacher. And the hate is completely insane. Of course, David Reinbacher arrived with the Montreal Canadiens rocking the number 23, a pretty cool number if you ask me. He looks fly out there on the ice. His helmet I don't think says 23, it says 36, which is kind of funny. But Jesse, the big thing here today is this post by NHL Breakers on Instagram. David Reinbacher has received, quote, thousands of hate messages from Montreal fans since the draft. Now, there's a bigger description to this Instagram post that outlines some of the messages he's gotten, and we're not going to talk about them on YouTube, but they are horrendous and quite frankly just despicable. Jesse, I think we got to make the point that you can be disappointed in a pick. We both want a Xhekaj. We're disappointed in it, but you can still support the player. I don't know what your thoughts are on this, but I think we have to do a bit better as a fan base in general.
It's so true, right? When there's kind of so much backlash that it might be affecting where he'll play next year, possibly limit, where he's going to play to kind of develop himself. Obviously, you want to give yourself all the best options. You want to choose what's best for the player, not that being dictated by the fan base. So obviously, anybody watching the live stream, we weren't super happy about the pick, right? But we kind of dusted ourselves off and we said, okay, you know what? We're going to trust Kent Hughes with this pick, and while I've been kind of reflecting on this a little bit, I've been thinking, you know what? Kent Hughes has big cojones to make a pick like this. Can you say cojones on Facebook?
I think so. I think that's fine. I don't think we're Steve Dangle censoring himself saying another word similar to that, but I think cojones is fine.
Right? Kind of doing what's best for the team. He had to know that this wasn't the sexy pick. He probably knew that there would be backlash. They're doing their own research into this. They probably have a good idea of how the fan base is going to react. But the whole thing with Kent Hughes, Jeff Gordon, has been what's going to be best for the team long term. Mm-hmm. So even though I don't necessarily agree with the opinion, I have to respect that he had the courage to make such a bold move, possibly knowing the backlash, because he firmly believes that this is in the best interest of the Montreal Canadiens.
Yeah, I think so too. And, Kent Hughes, cojones and sexy in one sentence is a one-way ticket to demonetization, but I think we'll be okay, right? No one's going to report us for that. But you're very right. Getting back to being serious, David Reinbacher, I think, projects to be an awesome player. We'll actually get into this in just a second, but I want to just hop up on that first point you made. Actually is an awesome point that it might affect where he's going to play next year. Arber talking to some members of the Habs staff, not specifically saying who said what, but he said he heard there's some concern about bringing Reinbacher to Montreal or Laval right away in light of the torches and pitchforks running through the fan base. He doesn't believe it should be a consideration, but it's true. They said apparently Pierre-Luc Dubois thought about that also when considering going to Montreal. And one anonymous staffer said, quote, "We're trying to make Montreal a place players want to play, and this stuff definitely doesn't help." Now, look, I know most of you guys aren't doing this stuff. I know a lot of you guys were also disappointed in the pick. But, if you know anyone doing this kind of stuff, it's just kind of sad, right? Because we're supposed to be the best hockey city in the world. We're supposed to have the best fans in the world, and stuff like this. You draft a player number 5 overall, and you want him to be good for your team, and the first thing he's getting is hate messages. It's not a great thing. So, I'm sure none of you are doing that. We hope, but let's try and be better in general. Because, Jesse, let's talk a bit about what a former NHLer had to say about David Reinbacher. Daniel Winnick, responding to a tweet saying Craig Button was on SportsCenter with Jay Onrait saying that he thinks that David Reinbacher is just going to be a lot like Adam Larsson, but Daniel Winnick says, no, I don't think that's the right take. I played against him this year in the Swiss A-League, and he's already showing poise, hands, and skating ability greater than Larsson already. Superior skater who can take shifts over and is playing against men already. Jesse, I know that's kind of our feeling as well. This is a guy that knows where to be, how to do it. He can eat up 20-25 minutes a night while being a shutdown defenseman, but to hear that praise from a 11-year NHLer, that's pretty insane.
It is, and it's the type of stuff that we need to be hearing right now. It's the type of reassuring information that as Habs fans we're really longing to hear right now. I know for myself, another source of that really kind of comforting information was just seeing the post-draft presser that he had with the media and him just talking. And he just came across as just like such an authentic, kind, like an amazing teammate.
Yeah.
Kind of like you, Josh, know? But what really came through with this for me is like, I realize, you're so welcome. It's like the reason that Kent Hughes made this pick is because of culture. Team culture is number one for Kent Hughes. It's the reason that they didn't sign Pierre-Luc Dubois. It's the reason that we didn't draft Michkov. And it's the reason why we did draft Reinbacher. And believe me, we're still torn about this too, this whole decision. But you have to feel like there's other comforting things coming up. Like the quote that he just said to the Habs, management after he got drafted. He says, I'm going to put on my work boots. I'm going to help win you a Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
I mean, if you just drafted a guy and he's coming to tell you this right away, this is his mentality. I'm going to go to work and my focus is on a Stanley Cup. Maybe that's why Kent Hughes picked this. He feels this is the best player to win a Stanley Cup. There's so many intangibles. There's so many things. But, team culture is so important for like any organization, whether it's a business or a hockey club. In this case, it's both. But I think Kent Hughes is very acute business mind. He understands that your culture is your organization. Mm-hmm. So he wants to absolutely get this right. And I think they really picked an amazing locker room guy.
Yep. And again, as much as we maybe wanted Michkov, we're going to support David Reinbacher the whole way. We hope you guys do too. Send some positive love towards David Reinbacher. We all want him to succeed in Montreal, right? He's the player we got. He's the player we got to support. And we hope he's going to be a key piece in the future. Topic 2 today. Going to maybe have to go through this a little faster than usual, but the Habs are going to be quiet in free agency. Now, unfortunately, I don't have a screen grab of it, but there's an article posted on sportsnet.ca from Eric Engels. So if you want to go to sportsnet.ca, check out Eric Engels' most recent article, basically talking about how in the Montreal Canadiens situation right now, Jesse, they're not in a place to be very active in free agency. And as fans, that kind of sucks because we want to talk about all the news, especially us as YouTubers, right? We want to bring the news to you guys. But it's just the nature of the situation. The Habs situation right now is they have a lot of kind of bad contracts they want to get off of. They have these young guys they want to develop. They're near the cap limit. They're actually over the cap if you include Price's LTIR right now. So they're in a bit of a pinch. They have some moving pieces. They got to move maybe someone like Hoffman, someone like Edmundson, and even Christian Dvorak, whose full or modified no trade clause goes into effect tomorrow, July 1st. Jesse, do you think Eric Engels has a point that the Habs might be quiet? Because I feel like some of the stuff they're going to do, they're going to make moves, but I just feel like nothing's going to be flashy. It's going to be a lot of cap dumps and stuff.
He's got a good point. I think the moves we will be making is definitely addressing the goaltending. Obviously, we drafted some great young goalies, but I think either getting a starting goalie or a backup to Monty is probably in the cards this offseason for the Montreal Canadiens. Now, where that leaves Jake Allen, if he's kind of returning a trade, is probably most likely in that type of, situation. Mm-hmm. But, I really feel like he's onto something because we kind of need to address the kind of the glut, for lack of a better word, of players that we have right now, which maybe isn't fitting, our more current model of where we want to go. So I believe, we definitely need to address Hoffman, Armia, possibly Dvorak. Although in the article, he does make a good point that maybe right now is not the best asset management to get rid of Christian Dvorak. So maybe advocating for a little bit of patience. There's definitely some pros and cons I think you could look at. Like there's buyouts happening left, right, and center in the NHL right now. Like Matt Duchene just got bought out.
Crazy.
So many people. Blake Wheeler, right? So you have to feel like that might be an option that the Habs are kind of looking at to kind of shed some weight, of course, with probably the last year of a flat cap. So, I mean, I think that we definitely want to make room for some of the younger guys. So that's why I'm okay of not filling out all those roster spots. I like that we already made a move, not in free agency, but, pre-draft and getting Alex Newhook that apparently many teams were kind of keen on. So the fact that the Habs could get him, we're the team to get him, I think is huge. Of course, I would never rule anything out. As Kent Hughes has said, anything that's going to benefit the team long-term, short and long-term, he's going to look to do. So I think that that's full well possibility, but kind of making room for some of the great prospects and Owen Beck and Joshua Waugh, who we have coming up, among others, Logan Mailloux, I think is a great course of strategy.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, Dvorak, I think you're right. I think Eric Engels is right. A bit of patience is good. Would not shock me if we saw an Armia buyout. I mean, I know it hurts the Habs for a couple of years, but I feel like it just frees up more than it hurts. The number one, I think, issue they have maybe now, Hoffman is kind of an issue. I'm sure you'd be able to dump him somewhere. But to me, the Gallagher, that length of contract, hopefully he can stay healthy. You can't buy him out. I want him to be a Hab for life. That's an interesting situation. But yeah, there's a lot of decisions to make. Unfortunately, none of them are probably flashy. Probably no big free agent splashes. But stand down. Maybe there'll be some interesting news that we can bring to you, hopefully pretty soon. Final topic, really quick hitter right at the end, Jesse. Our new pick, Jacob Fowler. One of the 3 goalie picks Montreal made in the draft. He was invited to the Summer Showcase. Take a look at this. The 2023 World Junior Summer Showcase for Team USA. Jacob Fowler is one of the 5 goalies invited. Of course, he's only 18 years old, coming off some amazing seasons, leading his league in goals against average and in save percentage, I believe, and having an insane playoff run going 8-1. Jesse, I'm pretty excited for Jacob Fowler, along with the other couple goalie prospects they got, but this guy here, first thing he says, he's like, I want the bright lights. I want to be a star. I want to be a Hab. Like, he is so exciting in theory. I'm really excited to see how this Summer Showcase goes.
It's true, and apparently Martin St. Louis, when kind of consulted on what he was looking for when players being drafted, was that he wanted players that would come to the city, right? So it's so nice to see somebody that's embracing that. And I mean, being invited to the Summer Showcase in a very deep and strong young USA hockey team, I mean, is a great sign. It's all the things that we want to see. So I am super excited about this pick.
Yeah, me too. I mean, Jacob Fowler could be the savior in the future, but there's now a few different goalies in the Habs pipeline and probably a goalie trade coming soon. So this goalie situation has flipped on a dime all of a sudden. And it would be very exciting to track that in the next few weeks and months. But that'll do it for this news edition of Habs Digest. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, subscribe to the channel. We're over 6,000, on the way to 7,000. If you could help us out with that, we'd really appreciate it. I'm Josh Gosse for my co-host, Jesse Poirier. We'll catch you in the next one.